Make better money choices. Choose a bank that takes your money seriously. Business Watch is brought to you by Nedbank.
Well, it's just gone 2 p.m. Central African time. It's a very good afternoon to you and welcome to Nedbank Business Watch, where markets meet insight and obviously impacting your financial decisions and how you invest your money. My name is Sifiso Ngumalo. Very lovely to be your host once again this Wednesday, and I'm not alone per usual. I'm with Mpome. Good, how are you?
I'm good, Nguni. How are you this afternoon?
Fantastic.
I'm
doing
great.
fantastic.
And good afternoon to our viewers as well. Thank you for tuning in to Nedbank Business Watch. Do stay tuned for today's fantastic program.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, as you say, it's fantastic. I think one of the most exciting developments today is coming from the central bank. Well, let me put you up to speed. We're stepping into a moment of critical importance for Eswatini's economic future. The central bank's latest financial directives and economic insights that was released today. They are set to impact every facet of our economic landscape, from inflation control and public debt management to the strategic flow of private sector credit. Now, with the stakes so high, what do these changes mean for the stability as well as the growth of our economy? How will businesses and households be affected? To help us navigate these complex waters, per usual, we'll be joined by the insightful economist Sanele Sibia, who's going to provide us a comprehensive breakdown of these developments, as well as try to offer strategic foresight on what this means for Eswatini. Don't miss this in-depth analysis. It could shape your financial decisions in the coming months.
Yeah, that's right. Sfisa, and also today, electronic banking specialist Nonhle Dlamini joins us again this week, and she'll tell us more about the Nedbank Send Money and Mobi wallet. With these platforms, you can send cash to your friends and family quick and easy. All you need is a valid Eswatini cell phone number and your Nedbank account. Nonhle will talk to us about the benefits of registering for the Nedbank Mobi wallet, as well as the minimum and maximum money you can send daily. And for our financial segment, Toba Kameta from Nedbank will join us for today's market analysis. And our leading story today, the National Agricultural Marketing Board, NAM Board, is training farmers on good agricultural practices in an effort to ensure they meet global standards so that they can be able to secure international markets. Let's get straight into it.
It's 3 minutes after 2. Welcome back. You're still tuned in to Nedbank Business Watch.
Yeah, and for our first story, the National Agricultural Marketing Board, NAM Board, is training farmers in good agricultural practices in an effort to ensure they meet global standards so that they can be able to secure international markets. The Chief Executive Officer, Pegizwe Mazia, says about 400 farmers will be trained.
Good agricultural practices are generally the farming practices that adheres to food safety standards, where the farmers would be required to ensure that the chemicals that they use are safe for human consumption at the end of the product harvest. They also are adhering to safety standards during the production period, and the workers themselves are protected and provided the necessary protective equipment, so that at any given time, at the end of the product, the product is found safe for human consumption, it is healthy, and it is quality produce. So as NAMPOD, we train the farmers on those agricultural practices. They include that there must be the relevant ablution facilities which the laborers would use while still working on the farm. The farm must be able to separate storage of chemicals from goods that are produced, as well as from working tools. They are also trained on how to handle food so that it is safe for consumption by the end user at the end of the day. We also train the farmers on how how they can adhere to these quality standards, so that when the time for audit, they are found to be adhering. A total number of 400 farmers registered with us through our Eswatini Horticulture Information System. We are targeting to train all those farmers who registered. However, it is only a total of 60 farmers that would then be capacitated further so that they eventually get the certification.
Strategic asset allocation, risk management, infrastructure investment, and the integration of environmental, social, and governance criteria in investment strategies were discussed in the 4th edition of the Eswatini Institutional Investors Forum this year at Happy Valley. There's a report.
In order to illuminate strategic allocation and diversification strategies for pension funds, the MN Capital Group brings institutional investors to revolutionize investment standards. The CEO of NM Capital Group, Michael Ndinisa, says this forum represents a pivotal moment in shaping the future of financial stewardship in Eswatini and beyond.
We are bringing experts who have dealt with these issues, who understand these issues, to come and sit down with the institutional investors in the country, not only through the event, but on roundtables and on one-on-ones, so that we can have case studies of how other people have done it and how Eswatini institutional investors should be doing it. Every trustee that is holding someone's money, every pension fund should be in this room, because these discussions are important. These discussions will make the economy grow. These discussions help with making sure that these risks and these challenges, are discussed. Now we're talking AI that we need to incorporate. We are talking new technological advances that we're talking about. We are talking climate issues. Climate change is affecting a lot of things. Post-COVID, there was a lot of distractions as well.
Futhi Tembe, the CEO of ENPF, emphasizes the importance of strategic asset allocation and advanced risk management practices in safeguarding pension funds against global uncertainties.
We need to develop the country that we live in. We need to not only pay interest to our members, but also contribute impactfully through employment. The financial environment is changing a lot. So you really need to then learn from your peers on how they've tackled any condition that they've faced.
Masocha Vilagati, the CEO of PSPF, shared insights into navigating the complexities of the current economic climate, provided valuable guidance for the attending investors.
Basically sharing ideas on how we can actually come together in the investment space so that we economically develop the country.
Strengthening the resilience of Eswatini pension funds and institutional portfolios in a rapidly changing global environment. So such initiatives, MN Capital Group is meant to help these entities stay ahead. Reporting for Nedbank Business Watch, Spiosami Geninza with Vumingosi Ndinisa, Eswatini.
The country's cumulative exports stood at 23.1 billion emalangeni in July this year, with the growth coming mainly from soft drinks, concentrate and sugar exports. This has been shared by the Governor of the Central Bank of Eswatini, Dr. Phil Mnisi, during a virtual presentation of the 2023-2024 Annual Integrated Report.
The governor says the country's position with the rest of the world continues to be competitive given the healthy trade balance as evidenced by the external sector statistics. He says the country posted a wider trade surplus of 1.8 billion emalangeni for the first 7 months of this year compared to a positive trade balance of 839 million emalangeni for the same period last year. Cumulative exports were at 23.1 billion emalangeni in July this year compared to 19.9 billion emalangeni during the same month last year, with growth coming mainly from soft drink concentrate and sugar exports. The governor continues to say imports increased in the first 7 months of this year, amounting to 21.3 billion emalangeni compared to 19.1 billion emalangeni for the same period last year. He states that the growth was recorded in imports of animal and vegetable products, machinery and electric equipment and vehicles. Dr. Mnisi shares that small-scale enterprise loan guarantee schemes are past its leverage ratio target of 3 times the fund as it increased from 2.41 times the fund in March last year to 3.24 times the fund balance at the end of March this year, indicating an increase of 34.44% during the year. He says in this regard, various strategic initiatives are being undertaken by the bank in trying to enhance the uptake of the export guarantee scheme, and one of them is the developing of risk instruments to support effective lending to specific key sectors. The governor has further said the bank has completed its research and development project on the central bank digital currency, CBDC, and has determined that a full CBDC launch will not be pursued at this time, adding that the decision was primarily driven by concerns regarding the country's readiness for such a significant financial step. For Nedbank Business Watch, Nelson Dlangamandla Mbabane.
It's 11 minutes after 2, and that's it for our business news. This is Nedbank Business Watch. Thank you for tuning in.
I'm being told Sunless Beer is already ready to join us virtually to ventilate today's announcement from the Central Bank of Eswatini. You do not want to miss that after the break.
Digital helps you make cross-border payments. Human gives you global specialists. Digital allows you to apply for a loan anytime, anywhere. Human connects you to credit experts. Digital puts you in control of your money, while Human connects you to wealth advisors. Digital allows you to freeze, unfreeze, cancel, and reorder your card. Human gives you that personal touch. Digital when you want it. Human when you need it. Get the complete private banking experience with Nedbank Private Clients.
Eswatini TV will be at the International Trade Fair 2024, bringing you exciting opportunities to connect with a wider audience and boost your brand visibility. ESTVA is offering incredible specials that include 5-minute on-location interviews, engaging viewers directly, spot advertisements, 30 seconds congratulatory messages, and much more. Do not miss out on this chance to increase brand awareness, generate lead and sales. Our details are displayed on the screen.
Welcome back. You've stayed with us for 13 minutes now. Keep staying with us. Joining us now is Sanele Sibia, an economist whose expertise in macroeconomic trends has made him a trusted voice in navigating Eswatini's financial landscape. And today, we want to look at the announcement from the central bank, which comes at a pivotal time, really. The intricate balance between growth and stability has never been more critical. Let's explore these complex dynamics. Sanele, good afternoon to you. Welcome to the program. Let's start with inflation. We are seeing that it is moderating, particularly in food prices. How do you foresee this impacting power and overall economic sentiment in the short term? I did see Dr. Philip Nisi was really keen on announcing this one.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ngumalo, and good afternoon to the viewers. So what we are seeing in terms of inflation, I must really state that, the Central Bank of Eswatini, working together with all stakeholders, have been quite pivotal and quite critical in striking the balance and actually trying to manage inflation, while at the same time trying to ensure an environment that is actually conducive for overall growth in the economy. So that's something we've seen happening. And, there's the inflation story is not just unique to Eswatini. We discussed this on a daily basis on this program here, that inflation and the cost of living pressures are one of the major issues that we are looking out for this year, and we are seeing that stabilization. And I might actually have to give to the central bank team that even though the world was dealing with this high level inflation, Eswatini actually stayed within the moderate band of 3 to 6%, and that was actually through balancing those two factors, making sure that inflation stays at abreast, and also with within this tight monetary economic environment, the central bank did try to ensure that it is accommodative for growth. And then in terms of the food inflation, yes, we are seeing food inflation, it's slowing down a bit. But, one would actually particularly worry as we move on into the year and we deplete the harvest that we have for this year, and we are particularly worried about that in the longer term, given that year on year our metric tonnage in terms of our basic grain, which is maize, continues to decline compared to when we were expected to increase. So we are actually expectant of such a moderate inflation to come back earlier towards the end of the farming season. That's around January, February, when we're going into another harvesting season. And the issue of the geopolitical tensions, they have not yet actually even stabilized. Russia and Ukraine are still at it, and if anything, it's getting more pronounced and more vigorous at this point in time, Mr. Nimelo. But yeah, I think kudos to the Central Bank of Eswatini in actually navigating the nation through these very difficult times.
Yeah, making notes from the governor's speaking notes as well as the report itself. Quite a very long, 2 long documents, but very comprehensive. They've done a good job there. They're also highlighting the resilience of the financial sector. But yet, Sanele, global and regional economic pressures persist. I think me and you can agree on that. Now, the question then becomes, how sustainable is this resilience, especially in light of potential external shocks?
If there is one thing, Mr. Ngumalo, that I would commend our central bank for, is that issue of, bank supervision and, just trying to manage the risks within the financial sector. One at some point would argue that at times they become too vigorous and maybe too restrictive and too stringent in terms of the controls. But when the time comes and then you see why we have to be this vigorous and too restrictive in terms of the controls, it is through these mechanisms that as a country, we don't get to import quite a lot of the financial shocks that go on globally. If you remember at the start of the year, we were talking about the issue of VBS and fearing contagion. Really, we didn't get hit that much because our financial sector is regulated and follows the best standard. It might be seen to be too stringent at times, but it does really ensure that the sector remains resilient. And we've seen the sector also performing relatively well, even in a very tight money and high cost of living environment. That is actually evident in the fact that we're seeing non-performing loans reducing year on year. Now we are at 6%, 6.7%. When you look into where we were probably some 12 months ago and even some 8 months ago, we're around the region of 7 and 8%. So now with that reduction in the non-performing loan portfolio, that means banks are able to stay afloat and they're actually able to manage this very tight economic environment. And it's not just an environment that is just on Eswatini only. It's like you rightly put it, it's a global phenomenon. Banks are also struggling with the high cost of living pressure, which is taking money out of the clients' pockets. And the high interest rate environment actually imposes an additional requirement on the consumers who want the bank's products in terms of the interest rates now that's being paid. But we are seeing the banks managing that, and that's quite a positive thing to note, Mr. Ngumalo, that we did expect to see some of the banks crumbling. Interest rates have been very high for too long. That means they're no longer turning in the volumes that they would ideally turn in terms of the transaction costs, the velocity of money, the way people are utilizing money, because it's how banks are making money, and also in terms of the loans. And we've seen low credit extension to the private sector remaining relatively weak. But what we are also seeing right now is even in that tight money environment, we are seeing that credit extended to the private sector also increasing. But that not only just comes with banks dishing out money. We've seen quite a lot of banks, when they give you money, they also give you the support. The support now does come with a bit of technical expertise. And that is what we are seeing the banks innovating that way to say, if we give out our money there, how do we make sure that our money is utilized effectively and efficiently so that we do minimize the losses when all is said and done, Mr. Nwan?
Very, very important. I'm looking at this document, in fact, this whole report, and it's 102 pages, and I suppose it's what one would expect from an annual report, so to speak. So it becomes quite hard to, ventilate which imperatives to, prioritize first. But thank God we have the Dr. Phil Makakula's speech to sort of, guide us on what to talk about first. And I suppose public debt management remaining a big concern is one of those things. The latest figures here are showing a slight decrease. The question becomes, how does this align with the government's broader fiscal strategy, and what risks could derail these efforts? Beg your pardon.
Thank you, Mr. Ngumalo. Public debt management is actually one of the things that we are all on the lookout for. And it's quite encouraging to note that even though the government of Eswatini continues to borrow, the overall debt to GDP ratio still remains within a 35% region, not necessarily moving into the 40% region. So that one is quite critical because we have to borrow and we need to be able to service our obligations as a country. And also what we are seeing in terms of public debt management, Mr. Ngumalo, is the fact that, the one of the ways you can reduce that ratio, Mr. Ngumalo, is if you improve on the denominator, as the finance minister would always say, that if we grow the economy, we can continue growing our debt. So we kind of need to strike a balance in terms of ensuring that the economy grows. And just on Monday, we saw that, the growth fundamentals remain very stable within Eswatini, and we are actually poised for a 4.4 to 5% growth as we close the year. So those are that shows that the government of Eswatini, working together with the central bank and other stakeholders, are not only just focusing on growing the debt, but it's now debt that is taken to ensure that we can grow and catalyze other factors so that the economy overall grows. And that is the thinking that we need. That's the dynamic that we need. We need sustainable growth so that you can actually sustain this growth path. You don't need growth that is going to be up and down tomorrow, and then that's going to actually affect our debt to GDP ratio. So it is that sustainability. And what we are seeing as well is, if you can look into the SACCO Stabilization Fund, that fund is now gaining momentum. I think it's around 1.75 billion. So if we can continue growing that fund, it's going to have positive impact on our reserves, while at the same time giving the country a buffer to survive should we see a downturn in terms of SACCO receipts. So we are seeing all of those initiatives coming into play, where we have a government that is both growing and both managing the risks, ensuring that in the short to medium term, when we start seeing a downturn in the SACCO receipts, we would still be in a relatively good footing to be able to afford the debt, while at the same time continuing to sustain national growth priorities. So I think it comes with that type of fiscal prudence and that thinking forward, the dynamic thinking, instead of thinking that we are having a field day in terms of SACCO receipts this year, and let's just continue that way. And we've seen quite a lot of activities happening on the ground. We've seen His Majesty put his boots on the ground, going around trying to invigorate business, because what the country is chasing now is growth. If we're able to grow and collect taxes, then, and maintain fiscal prudence. I mean, we've seen quite a lot of movements around that side, at that angle as well, with efficiencies being found within different government ministries. That would be your Palala Fund, your, what's it called, the CTA. So those movements, Mr. Ngumalo, are showing that we are a country that is now aware of the risks, and we are trying our best to manage those risks going forward so that they do not become catastrophic in the event they occur. So I think we can see that there is a very good tango between the Central Bank of Eswatini and the government of Eswatini in terms of ensuring that we manage debt, we manage reserves, and we ensure that there is a risk management strategy in everything that we do. And I think if we continue on this footing, we shall actually turn the page and become the prosperous economy that we once were, and the prosperous economy that we can be.
Yeah, absolutely, Sanele. You have spoken on the word growth, I think 6 times on that particular response there. And I suppose, I want to take from there and look at the 11.7% growth in private sector credit, particularly within the business sector. What this signifies for economic recovery post-COVID-19, because we are still, recovering from that. And really, are we seeing a healthy distribution of credit across industries?
So what we are seeing there, Mr. Ngumalo, again, it goes back to the packages. I'll just take you to the financial inclusion guarantee schemes. What we are seeing is, before you and I have had this conversation where we said the schemes are there, but they are just not working. but it would seem the schemes have been recalibrated. That is why we are now looking at a 3% leverage ratio. That means now the funds are growing. People are accessing those funds. The only shortfall that we are seeing is within that export guarantee scheme. That means we are still growing enough. We are able to grow domestically and we are able to sell domestically. But in terms of getting us to the point where we sell abroad, that is where we are lagging as a country. So if you look at the growth to private sector, the credit to private sector, and you also look at when these schemes came into play, that is now, this good balancing act between the government and the central bank to understand that the monetary policy environment is very tight. So maybe if government came with a scheme and still allowed business that bit of a leeway. And one thing that I liked particularly when I was reading through the document, Mr. Nxumalo, I think for the first time in the history of myself, ever since 2010, reading a central bank report, I saw the words gender there. That means we are really looking at developing and growing a balanced economy that leaves nobody behind, Mr. Nxumalo. So yes, we are seeing that there are certain sectors that are not necessarily well benefiting and not well balanced. But the fact that we are now attempting to think of policy through that gender lens, through an inclusive lens, and understanding that when we set up an export guarantee scheme or when we set up a loan guarantee scheme, the impact and the way it's going to operate in society will vary depending on one's social standing and quite a number of socio-cultural variables around that person. And I think I did take it into heart and in good spirit the fact that the word gender was there. That's a good start. That means there is the transformative thinking within our policymakers to think long-term and think how we move and we carry each and every person in this kingdom of ours forward as we move on with financial inclusion, financial broadening, financial depth, and financial deepening. And we know that's going to also trickle into the real economy where we start to see trades happening and where we start to see businesses grow. So we do commend that, and I was particularly very much elated when I saw that. As you know, I've always been an advocate for actually ensuring that we include our youth and our women and every Liswati in business, in the landscape. Let's not concentrate the wealth of this nation in the hands of a few people through our policies. So now the fact that our policies are becoming aware that we all participate and we all engage with policies given our socio-cultural dynamics, then I'm sure that going forward we shall achieve inclusive growth. We just need to gain the momentum and not lose the momentum, Mr.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the fact that, as you speak about equality and inclusion, we have seen this being co-opted into probably every facet of development in our country. So with the Elections Boundaries Commission, even their slogan during the elections was speaking to let us all move forward. And certainly the results showed that even with our Deputy Prime Minister, who is currently female, and, I think even for me, it's exciting to see that particular word for the first time on the Central Bank of Eswatini's report. The widening trade surplus suggests a robust export sector, Sanede, yet imports have also risen significantly. Now, could this indicate potential vulnerabilities, particularly in our dependency on external markets?
Those vulnerabilities will always be there because Eswatini is a trading economy. We survive purely through our exports and through importing to actually make sure that we are able to sustain and nourish the nation as a whole. So what one would then be a bit worried about on that front is the fact that actually imports increasing because they purely need to be decreasing. I mean, imports are they decreasing because they need to be decreasing, or is it telling of a much broader story? The entire globe is battling with cost of living pressures. Is it the fact of weakening domestic demand? That is where I would want us to really look into, or is it the fact that exports are growing? We've found new sectors through which we can export, and then comparatively and relatively the numbers seem to be pointing to exports. But I would be particularly worried if it was actually the former that is happening, to say that in terms of the domestic demand, it is actually weakened to a point that we are importing less, given that Eswatini is the net importer, more especially for our grain and our nourishment. So that would mean we need to move fast and really try to make sure that we are able to grow our domestic demand to a point where Maswati are a bit comfortable again. We are actually living in a in a high cost of living environment. And I think the governor there did make mention of that fact that we do expect services and other other inflation components to remain persistent. So what that means is we do expect the inflation to stay, not inflation, we do expect prices to stay high relatively in the short to medium term. They're going to be persistent at that level, though the rate at which they're growing would have actually come down. So I think as we are moving forward into a soft type of monetary policy environment, we do expect now to see those other dynamics, such as your imports picking up as people get more disposable income and people can spend more in terms of the money that they have. So I would actually caution the government and the central bank and all other stakeholders to actually be on the lookout and see how such numbers are actually, what are they telling in terms of domestic demand? Are we seeing a slowing economy? What is it indicative of? That would be my main worry, Mr. Ngumalo. We need to do that diagnostics there and make sure that we do not find ourselves, reacting late when we see that, domestic demand has really weakened to a point that we are, that it would take quite a lot to get it back up again. But with that said, I need to actually commend the governor, for his bold step of staying an entire 75 basis points behind the Reserve Bank of South Africa. That must have taken a lot of doing and a lot of politicking and a lot of negotiations to get us to that level when South Africa and the entire SACU region are actually converging at a much higher level. So now that is a commitment to the growth, to the overall growth that the central bank is actually positing, not only just focusing on monetary policy stability, but also being cognizant of the fact that monetary policy has to be accommodative to the overall growth agenda of the country. And we do hope that as scope opens up, probably, and I would call it and say probably next month, scope would open up for some sort of a dialing back on the interest rates, and we shall probably expect to see the other dynamics and demand picking up in the domestic economy, Mr. Ngumalo, but we do need to also focus on the domestic demand.
Sanile, thank you so much for your time. I think we have covered ground on, some key issues here: inflation moderating, the central bank highlighting the resilience of the financial sector in terms of, what happens then with regional economic pressures as they persist, public debt management. I think that has also been quite insightful. I'm really sad that we have run out of our time, and yet I wanted us to, speak briefly on something else that has, I suppose was taking a lot of looking and a lot of work for the governor himself. We have seen how passionate he is about cryptocurrency as well as the digital currency with the central bank. But perhaps another time. I want to thank you, though, for providing all the insights that you've provided us today. A very good day to you. And we hope that you have enjoyed this particular segment. A lot more is coming on Nedbank Business Watch after the break. Welcome back. You're still watching Nedbank Business Watch. Thank you for staying with us. Electronic banking specialist from Nedbank, Nonhle Dlamini, comes back again on the program. Today she's focusing on the Nedbank Send Money and Mobi Money wallet. Very good afternoon. Welcome back, Nonhle.
Good afternoon, Lulu. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So let's just focus on the Send Money. What are the benefits of registering? How do you register? Do I need to be a client of Nedbank? How does the process go?
Okay, for the Mobi Money wallet account, so we have two services rather. It's the Send Money and the Mobi Money option. So on the Mobi Money, you have to register, yes, but you don't have to be a Nedbank client. Even those that are not Nedbank clients can register for the wallet. To register, you dial *140 *41 hash, and then follow the easy prompts where you'll be required to enter your ID number, your date of birth, your full name and surname, and you'll then receive a congratulatory message to say, thank you for registering with Nedbank. Congratulations, you have successfully registered for the wallet account.
Okay.
Yes.
So do I need airtime to register?
No, you don't.
I don't need airtime.
You don't need airtime.
So what comes with the benefits of registering? For instance, someone sends me money. Am I able to store that money into my wallet, and for how long?
Absolutely, you are able to store the funds for as long as you need the funds in that account. Yes.
Okay.
To have the wallet account is beneficial in a way that you are able to purchase airtime, electricity. You're able to view your account statement because it creates an account. So it means in as much as you're not a Nedbank client, for those that do not have clients with us, but you are able to view your balance just to see your transactions that have happened on the wallet account.
Okay. So for instance, somebody sends me 3,000 in Malangeni. Do I need to withdraw all that money, or I can keep some in my wallet?
No, you don't have to withdraw. You can only withdraw the money that you need at that time.
Yeah.
Yes, you can then store the rest, maybe up until whatever time you need the funds.
Okay, so I don't need airtime. I just use my registering. I don't need airtime to register.
You don't need airtime.
Okay, so let's talk about other benefits of having the wallet. I know that Nedbank customers or clients have been complaining that when you send someone money, if they don't withdraw it within 48 hours, it gets sent back, and it's more charges for the sender. Yes. How does having the wallet help me? What benefits comes with having the wallet?
Thank you. Like you said, on the send money option, the funds, if you still have the send money, the funds return to the sender after 48 hours.
Okay.
That's quite an inconvenience to some of our clients because let's say you don't know the sender, who the sender is. Some of our clients run businesses and stuff like that. So to have the wallet account helps the receiver store the funds in that account.
Okay.
Instead of you calling the sender or calling the bank to say, someone send me funds via the send money option, and then now the funds have returned back to the sender. So we need to trace who sent the funds. So to cut all that that process, we then encourage the receiver to register for the Mobi wallet, because also on the Mobi wallet you are able to there's an option where you can apply to have a bank account with Nedbank.
Oh,
yes,
great.
so it comes with that as well.
Okay, so tell us more about that. How do I apply? Is the whole process completed, via the wallet, or I eventually need to go to the bank?
You will then eventually have to go to the bank for signing purposes and also for getting your ATM card. Yes, but the process can be done virtually. Yes,
so how long
remotely.
can I store my money in my wallet? For instance, 3 months. Will I be charged if I don't utilize it, in purchasing electricity, airtime? I'm just storing it. Will I be charged?
For storing the funds, no. But what we charge is the first withdrawal on the wallet account is free, and then the rest of the withdrawals we charge. But for keeping the wallet, no, we don't charge that. Yes, for keeping the funds in the account, we don't charge.
So can I withdraw it gradually, not like in a lump sum?
Yes, you can.
Okay,
yes,
that's perfect.
Yes.
So I want us to get into send money. Tell us more about the send money. How do I send money? Do I need to have the app? Do I need to log into the app, or I can use cell phone banking?
Yes, you do have to. You can use the app to make a withdrawal. I mean, to send the funds to a wallet or send money. A client with a send money service. So what you do is when you log into the app, there's a payment option. Under those payment options, you select payment to mobile. Okay. You can send to a valid Swazi number, either Eswatini mobile or MTN. Yes.
So instant transaction.
Yes.
Yeah, Val, all right.
Yes.
So let's talk about charges. Will I be charged for sending money?
Yes,
using
the
app?
sender, of course,
Yeah.
they'll be charged for sending.
Okay.
Yes.
And also let's talk about what happens if the receiver does not withdraw the cash.
On the send money option, the funds will return to the sender's account after 48 hours. If the 48 hours elapses on a Sunday, then the following working day, the funds will be returned to the sender's account.
To the sender.
Yes.
So what's the minimum I can send per day and the maximum?
You can send you can send up because on the wallet account you can store up to 25,000.
Okay.
So as long as it doesn't reach that limit, yes, you can send up to that much.
So it's for everyone, businesses, corporates, and individuals, SMEs, they can utilize this platform.
Absolutely. And on the SME part, business part, corporate clients have even the option of sending a bulk send money. They can load a file up to 2,000 clients and send to those recipients.
Yeah. And what if I send money to the wrong person? Does the bank assist me there? What happens? Do you assist me within the 48 hours? Do I get instant help from the bank? What happens?
Okay, Lulu, that one is quite tricky because at the moment we do not reverse that transaction. We do have a disclaimer though to alert our clients to say just be careful, make sure that you send to the correct recipient.
Yeah.
Yes.
And of course I get a notification that I've sent money to someone.
Absolutely you do, because even on the app, the transactions, they do show the number that you've sent to. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's talk about the OTP. How does my recipient get an OTP? How do I ensure that they get an OTP?
Okay, they do receive a message. The message carries the OTP, which is the one-time PIN. Okay. So if the receiver will then says, I haven't received the message, but the sender has confirmed that they have sent the funds. So we then request them to do the *140 hash for send money to regenerate the OTP. Once you've dialed the *140 hash, and then you select the option number 2, which is send money, and then you select the option with which has the withdraw from ATM. Okay. And then it then gives an option to view the OTP or regenerate the OTP. Yes.
All right. So I'm the receiver now. I'm at the ATM. How do I go about withdrawing my money? Okay. What are the prompts that I need to follow?
Okay. Thank you. When you get to the ATM, there's a cardless option, cardless services option. You select that one. And then after that, there's a send money and the Mobi money options. Then if it's a send money, if you haven't registered for the Mobi wallet, you select the send money option.
Okay.
Yes. And then it will, you follow the prompts, you enter your mobile number and the amount sent to you and the OTP.
So how much can a receiver withdraw per day? For instance, they have that 25,000 malangini, which is the maximum money. How much can they withdraw per day?
Okay, on the send money option, in fact, on both options, on send money, you will be forced to withdraw the whole amount, but up until you register to have the wallet, because on send money, unfortunately, at the moment you can't do a partial withdrawal. You will have to register for the wallet if maybe they have sent more than the limit. Because our limit is 9,900 to withdraw at the ATM.
Okay.
Yes.
So because the OTP comes with the message, and what happens if I accidentally delete it before withdrawing? Do I get help?
You do get help. If you have a send money, then you should make sure that you get help before the 48-hour grace period. You dial the *140 hash, and then follow the prompt, which is send money. Select the send money option, and then select withdraw from ATM.
Okay.
And then it will take you to the transaction, and then select the option which says view OTP.
Okay.
Yes.
Just to be clear, for me to be able to receive money and not get it sent back to the sender, I need to register.
Yes.
For Mobi Money wallet.
Yes. you'll have to register.
Even
for
if I'm
the
not a NetBank client?
Even if you're not
Okay.
a NetBank client, yes.
Okay, all right.
yes.
Thanks so much, Notle. Lastly, what are your contact details in case, they have more questions to ask?
Okay, the clients can reach us at +278 3278 sorry 1999, which is our call center, or they can send an email to helpdesk@netbank.co.za.
And of course, social media, you're interactive with your clients?
We're always available to interact with our clients on social media, Facebook or Twitter.
All right, thanks so much. There you have it. The NetBank Send Money and Mobi Imani wallet. If you want to register, do contact NetBank social media pages. They're available. And also visit any of the branches here in the country. Let's go for a net break.
Digital helps you make cross-border payments. Human gives you global specialists. Digital allows you to apply for a loan anytime, anywhere. Human connects you to credit experts. Digital puts you in control of your money, while Human connects you to wealth advisors. Digital allows you to freeze, unfreeze, cancel, and reorder your card. Human gives you that personal touch. Digital when you want it. Human when you need it. Get the complete private banking experience with NetBank Private Clients.
Welcome back. You're still watching NetBank Business Watch. Thank you for tuning in. I'm now joined by Toba Kamete from NetBank to give us today's financial markets. A very good afternoon, Toba. Thank you for coming through. Trading's a bit quiet today. Why is that so?
Thank you, Luli, and good afternoon to the viewers. So yes, trading is a bit quiet today. The market is quite cautious and not volatile. I think it's because of the lack of data, I would say, in most regions today in particular. There's quite a bit of data coming out on Friday, tomorrow and Friday. So then the market is just waiting to see what the data is going to look like for clues on interest rate cuts and all of those things.
Yeah. So what's happening in South Africa? I've seen reports today that investors, are waiting to see money supply data. What's happening there?
Yes. So on Friday, the Statistics South Africa will release money supply, budget, and trade balance data, and then tomorrow it's producer price inflation data. So the market is waiting to see what those numbers look like to gauge the health of the South African economy, if the economy is growing or if it's shrinking.
So what's happening in the US, and also there's expectations that Friday the personal consumer expenditure data is supposed to be released. Let's just go through the currencies today.
All right. So from a U.S. perspective, so it's a similar story. Trading is quite muted today as well. We, as you've rightfully said, have the PCE personal consumer expenditure number coming out on Friday. So that is the Fed's preferred inflation gauge. So the market is waiting to see what that number would look like for clues of what inflation is doing in the US, because that will then tell or inform what the Fed is likely to do in their monetary policy meeting next month.
That's right. So what's happening? Let's take a look at the foreign exchange today. How is the Lilangeni trading today, Namul?
All right. So today the Lilangeni is the dollar is trading at 17.7650 against the dollar, up 0.28%. Against the euro, it's down at 19.7625, and against the Great British Pound, it's at 23 Malangeni. 48 cents, up 11%. As you can see, the changes on the percentages or the variations are quite limited, testament to the limited volatility that we are seeing today.
Okay, so moving on to commodities, I saw reports that today, oil is going up, but still trading steady. What's happening there on commodities?
All right. Yes. So oil is trading at $79.57 per barrel, up 0.03%. But it has significantly increased when you look at the past few days. A couple of factors have contributed to that. The first being reports of a decline in stockpiles of fuel and oil inventories in the U.S. The second being disruptions, or rather halting of production from Libya. There is quite a bit of tension between government factions against or for the control of oil reserves and the central bank in Libya. So that has sort of disrupted the supply from that country. And Libya is one of the countries, the biggest producers of oil. Excuse me. And the third being the continuing conflict in the Middle East with no concrete breakthrough in the ceasefire in the Gaza region. From gold is down, but still above the 2.5 US dollars per ounce mark, trading at 2,509.33 per ounce, but down 0.61%. And I think it goes back to the trading activity that we're seeing in the market. I can sort of call it a cash market. People are holding on to their money to see what the different what the different data is going to look like, so that they can then make decisions of where to put their money.
Okay, so when you look at equities, the S&P 500 is doing quite well today. What are some of the factors that led to this?
Yes, so the S&P 500 is doing quite well, trading at 5,625.8, up 0.16%. The leader there being NVIDIA, the largest chip or AI chip manufacturing company by market capitalization in the US. So they are releasing their half-year performance numbers today, and the market is expecting that to double, which will likely push will actually push the share price up, and the market is anticipating an increase of 10% in the share price of NVIDIA tomorrow as a result of the anticipated bumper earnings that they are anticipating to see today. So that will be coming out later this afternoon. And the FTSE is also up 0.51%, trading at 7,550.51 pounds again today. Leading sectors there are pharmaceutical as well as insurers in that region.
Yeah. So just before I let you go, Toba, there are fears of recession happening at the US today. Yes. Is that still the case? What's happening?
So that is the case. The U.S. economy is slowing down. But I think before we can get to a recession, there is quite a number of monetary policy adjustments that the Fed would likely implement. We had the Jackson Hole symposium last week Friday, where the Fed chair, Jerome Powell, said mentioned that it's time for interest rate cuts, or sort of gave a toned down or dovish sentiment to the market. So there is likely going to be interest rate cuts. The market is anticipating one or rather 100 basis points for the rest of the year, with the first one, 25 basis points coming in next month. So before we can get to probably a recession, there's quite a few levers that are going to be pulled.
Yeah. There's a lot going on in international markets. Just yesterday in Europe, some companies were cutting jobs due to the elevated level of inflation. What's really happening there?
Yeah, so there's so inflation is still quite high, or especially in that region. And there's also a slowing down of the economy. So there's quite a lot of then struggling that's happening with companies cutting jobs and all of that, just trying to stay afloat and to manage. So there's quite a lot of activity in that regard.
Right, so thank you so much, Toba, for that analysis on today's financial markets. We'll go for an ad break. When you come back, we wrap up the show.
Do you pay your TV license and are up to date with your payments? If not, here is your chance. If you own a TV set, a decoder, or a set-top box and you voluntarily declare, the TV license fees will not be backdated and you will only be required to pay for the 2024 TV license fee. On top of that, you will also avoid paying the 50% penalty fee. This offer is valid until the 30th of September 2024. However, if you pay before the last day of this year's trade fair, you stand a chance to win awesome prizes. The draw will be conducted on the last day of the trade fair, the 8th of September 2024. Take advantage of this leniency period. It's not too late to make the right choice. Pay your TV license and be a compliant citizen. Pay your TV license through any of these TV license pay points, MTN Mobile Money, Eswatini Mobile Imali, Eswatini Post Office, and our NetBank account. When you make payment for your TV license, always remember to reference with your personal identity number.
Welcome back. It's 4 minutes before 3 o'clock. This is NetBank Business Watch. Quite interesting interviews we've had today. We were joined by Nonhle Dlamini, who's the electronic banking specialist from NetBank. She was talking about the NetBank Money, Send Money and NetBank Mobi wallet platforms. She said you can now register for the Mobi wallet. I think it's a good program, good platforms for for clients that want to send and keep their money or store their money in their wallet.
Yeah, absolutely. We also had quite the insightful interview with Sonny Lesbia, our economist, speaking on the directives from the Central Bank of Eswatini as they have officially published and released their annual integrated report. Some of the imperatives there speak to, how are you going to spend your money yourself as a viewer, and if you're a business owner or even as just a civil servant, really, how really you should spend your money. Some of the imperatives speak on to, inflation control, public debt management, as well as the strategic flow of private sector credit, which has been quite insightful really to learn as Sunless Bia helped us ventilate all those issues. Hoping that, we are going to continue to grow on a sustainable path, as he mentioned, as we continue to grow, and that our private sector investment is going to be bolstered, but even more so our local investment, particularly our MSMEs. We hope that it looks like the government of Eswatini, the private sector, as well as the Central Bank of Eswatini, they've done quite some important strides really in making sure that everyone is met halfway.
Yeah, and that's it for our program. Lumhla, thank you for joining us. But if you've just tuned in, worry not, you can still watch this episode on our social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube. We are at Eswatini TV. And for more information or details on the Send Money app and Send Mobi wallets, to contact NetBank Eswatini or visit any of their branches countrywide.
Yeah. Otherwise, from myself and Umfombeni, it's a goodbye. We hope that you enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Digital helps you make cross-border payments. Human gives you global specialists. Digital allows you to apply for a loan anytime, anywhere. Human connects you to credit experts. Digital puts you in control of your money, while human connects you to wealth advisors. Digital allows you to freeze, unfreeze, cancel, and reorder your card. Human gives you that personal touch. Digital when you want it. Human when you need it. Get the complete private banking experience with Nedbank Private Clients.
Make better money choices. Choose a bank that takes your money seriously. Business Watch was brought to you by Nedbank.